On August 22, 2022, 3:17 a.m., DeKalb County Dispatch logs a 911 call from a private residence off Wesley Chapel Road. Male caller. Panic in his voice. "She's not breathing, she fell, she was pregnant, please help." Body cam footage, timestamp 3:24 a.m. show. Responding officers step into a bathroom lit only by overhead fluorescence. On the tile floor, a woman in her late 20s. Nightgown soaked in blood. One hand curled beneath her, the other stretched across the grout like she reached for something, or someone. Blood smears led from the edge of the tub. No signs of forced entry. No signs of a struggle at first glance. Paramedics check vitals. No pulse. No fetal movement. The man is on his knees, shirtless, shaking, repeating the same sentence. "She slipped. I told her to be careful. She just slipped." He doesn't ask if the baby survived. The coroner arrives at 4:12 a.m. Photographs are taken. Scene logged. And then an officer mutters something under his breath as he scans the edge of the sink. There's no sign of a fall. In moments like this, time holds its breath. What's done cannot be undone. But what's hidden? That takes time to surface. Some losses speak for themselves. Others stay quiet until someone dares to ask. What really happened in that bathroom? She was supposed to become a mother in 6 weeks. August had rolled into Atlanta slow and thick with heat. And for Rochelle and Claiborne, 28, every day was a countdown, not just to a due date, but to a future she had been dreaming about for years. She taught second grade at a local charter school just off Cleveland Avenue. The kind of teacher kids remember. Gentle voice. Firm hands. The one who brought snacks for the children who forgot breakfast. At Sunday service, they called her the quiet one with the loud faith. She spent her weekends volunteering at Girls Like Me, a mentorship program for at-risk teens, combing their hair, editing their college essays, buying them bus fare when their parents couldn't. One girl described her simply as, "the first person who ever believed me." At home, Rochelle kept a journal. Not digital. Not for Instagram. Just a spiral notebook with her name printed in block letters across the front. On page after page she poured out hope, and, more recently, hesitation. "He still kisses my belly," she wrote one night. "But I don't think he's looking at me anymore." She had just hosted her baby shower 10 days before her death. Dozens of friends. Matching peach and gold balloons. Her mother, Loretta, a retired trauma nurse, sat in the corner watching her only child float from guest to guest, glowing, but tired. She said she was just carrying low, Loretta later told detectives. But she looked like joy took effort. Rochelle was engaged to her high school sweetheart, Tavares Elijah Brooks. 32 years old. Lived across town. Ran a mobile detailing business. He proposed on Christmas Eve, a flash mob in the mall parking lot with a ring that didn't quite fit, but a smile that did. Their relationship wasn't perfect. But whose is? That's what Rochelle would say. Still, in the last entries of her journal, something shifted. "Lately I talk and it feels like the words hit a wall." She wrote. "He used to ask how I slept. Now he just stares past me." She never showed those pages to anyone. And no one, not her friends, not her pastor, not even her mother, knew that the night before her death, Rochelle texted a single line to her cousin Trina. "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." She didn't elaborate. She never got the chance. At the center of this story is a woman who saw everything coming, but still stayed. Because she loved him. Because she was tired. Because the baby already had a name. What would you do if the one person you loved most, the one you trusted to protect your future, stopped believing in you? Would you ask questions? Or would you stay silent, just to keep the peace? Tell us what you would do in the comments below. Tavares Elijah Brooks was the kind of man you'd trust with your keys and your secrets. 32 years old. Music engineer. Played drums every Sunday at Cornerstone Tabernacle on Cascade. Graduated from Fort Valley State. Former linebacker. He grew up in Atlanta's West End. His mother gone before he turned 10. Raised by his grandmother, a factory worker with a Bible in one hand and pain in the other. Discipline wasn't optional. Emotions weren't encouraged. He learned early that silence was safer than vulnerability. That silence stayed with him. Most who knew him would describe Tavares as respectful. Protective. Even thoughtful. He opened doors, sent just checking on you texts. He wasn't loud or boastful. His love showed up in details. Warming Rochelle's car on cold mornings, tuning the nursery speakers himself so the baby would only ever hear clean sound. But love isn't always loud when it's hurting. Around 5 months into Rochelle's pregnancy, something shifted. He grew quieter. Shorter. Always watching her face, her phone, her tone. Phone records later revealed Tavares had spent hours, late nights, work breaks, Sunday evenings, researching things most men never think to search. How to know if your pregnant girlfriend is lying. Can a woman cheat and the baby still look like you? Paternity test laws in Georgia. No one had accused Rochelle of anything, and she never gave a reason. But suspicion doesn't need evidence. It only needs doubt, and an ego unwilling to let it go. One of Tavares's co-workers told police something he remembered too late, a lunch break in early August, just weeks before the baby shower. The two men had been talking casually about relationships, fatherhood, trust. Tavares had paused, looked away and said, "A man can forgive almost anything, until he feels like a fool." By then, Rochelle had already written in her journal that something in him was fading. She wrote, "He won't touch me the same. He won't look me in the eyes when I talk. I don't know how to reach him anymore." That same week, she had gone to Target alone to pick out onesies and baby bottles. Something she had begged him to do together. A therapist friend, someone from their premarital counseling group, tried to reach out. Texted him. Called once. He never replied. When people asked Tavares how Rochelle was doing, he'd smile and say, "She's glowing." But his eyes? They said something else entirely. And no one asked him why. August 21, 2022. Southwest Atlanta. The day had been ordinary. Rochelle posted a smiling picture from her kitchen. Baby shower balloons still floated half-deflated behind her. On the whiteboard, two baby names, Naomi if it was a girl, Elijah if it was a boy. A soft dinner was warming in the oven. She even lit candles. Tavares got home late. 11:12 p.m. according to the smart lock. What happened after he walked through that door, no one really knows. Neighbors on the floor said they heard voices. Low at first. Then raised. Then silence. At 3:17 a.m., a 911 call came in. "She's not breathing. She was in the shower, she slipped, I think. There's blood. Please, just send someone." Minutes later, officers arrived. The bathroom was cold. The shower? Dry. No towel on the floor. No sign of water. Rochelle's makeup still intact. Her body, curled on her side, lay beside a trail of blood that stretched from the toilet base to the hallway tile. A white towel hung perfectly on the rack. Untouched. Body cam footage shows Tavares sitting in the hallway, arms locked around his knees. His shirt is clean. Voice steady. Eyes red but dry. Paramedics from Eastview Medical Response made their first note clear. The bruising didn't match the story. No defensive wounds. No glass shards on her skin. No signs of a fall. Just a quiet, eerie stillness. The only visible sign of struggle? A small red indentation on her upper arm, shaped like a thumb. She was 31 weeks pregnant. They couldn't save the baby. They couldn't save her. But they did preserve the scene. Fingerprints. Skin under her nails. And something else, lodged deep in the phone case beneath her bed. A small scrap of paper, torn, just one word visible. It read, "Why?" We still don't know who wrote it. We don't know when. But the timing, the choices, felt deliberate. Not chaotic. Not accidental. The deeper investigators looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about a fall. It was about trust. Control. And what happens when love curdles into doubt? 2 days after Rochelle and Claiborne was pronounced dead at Lifecare Memorial, the medical examiner's office released its preliminary findings. It was supposed to confirm what Tavares Brooks told Dispatch, a tragic fall in the bathroom. Something sudden. Something random. But what they found told a different story. The first thing the pathologist noticed, the bruises. One on her jaw. Another just below her collarbone. Parallel, horizontal. Uniform in width. The type you don't get from slipping. There were contusions on both wrists, as if she tried to catch herself. Or had been held. Lividity patterns suggested she'd been lying face down, then moved. Maybe even posed. And then the skull. Hairline fracture. Behind the right ear. Clean. Focused. The kind of injury that requires more than gravity. It requires direction. Force. No water in her lungs. No defensive wounds. No traces of soap, shampoo, or conditioner on her skin. Her makeup. Still intact. Eyeliner unblurred. Lip gloss untouched. It was 3:17 a.m. She hadn't been getting ready for bed. She hadn't even gotten into the shower. She never made it that far. Toxicology came back clean. No sedatives. No alcohol. No medication that would cause dizziness. Rochelle was 7 months pregnant. Her baby boy, named Malachi in her diary, died from oxygen deprivation. The medical examiner's conclusion? Blunt force trauma. Homicide. Targeted, not accidental. Precise, not chaotic. Still, there was no murder weapon. And Tavares, through his lawyer, insisted she slipped. The defense pointed to pregnancy-induced dizziness. Anxiety. Claimed she hadn't been sleeping well. Cited a single note in her journal that read, "I don't feel like myself anymore." They hinted at emotional instability. A woman under pressure. Maybe too much pressure. But the autopsy didn't support that theory. Neither did Rochelle's mother. She was strong. That baby was everything to her. There's no way she hurt herself. I don't care what anyone says. The prosecution brought in Dr. Lorraine Gibbs, a forensic pathologist with 15 years of experience. Her words were calm. Measured. These weren't the kinds of injuries you get from falling. They were controlled. There's a difference between chaos and intent. And this showed intent. And then came the timeline. Rochelle's time of death was estimated between 1:20 and 1:50 a.m. Tavares didn't call 911 until 3:17. So where was he during those 90 minutes? What was he doing? The bruises. The blood. The silence. If the evidence says she was moved, if the wounds don't match the story, and the father of her unborn child waits nearly an hour and a half before calling for help, what do you believe? And more importantly, what would she say, if she could speak for herself? By the second week of September 2022, police investigators began retracing every minute of the hours between Rochelle's final text and Tavares's frantic 911 call. They started with the outside world, the places Tavares said he never went. At exactly 2:41 a.m., a security camera 3 blocks from their home captured a man in a dark hoodie leaving the Claiborne Brooks residence. 11 minutes later, that same figure showed up on surveillance at a local Wells Fargo ATM. The time stamp read 2:52 a.m. He was depositing a check for $4,200. The account it came from? Rochelle's, her separate savings. According to her mother, that money had been for the baby's nursery. She had been saving it since her first trimester. Tavares never mentioned the transaction in his statement. Never explained the deposit. Never admitted he left the house. Police requested a warrant for his phone. It had been factory reset the day after Rochelle died. But a forensic team recovered fragments of deleted messages, recovered through backup metadata. One message sent just hours before Rochelle's death stood out. Sent to a number with no name attached. "I'm done being played. I'll fix this tonight." The recipient never responded. That number was later traced to a prepaid burner phone. Untraceable. Detectives returned to the house with a second warrant, this time with a focus on the garage. Inside a lawn bag beneath a folded tarp, they discovered a pair of Nike trainers. Size 11. On the soles, under layers of dried mud, were microscopic blood traces. DNA testing confirmed it was Rochelle's blood. A forensic analyst testified later that the droplets were not transfer stains. They were projected, meaning they came from a high-force impact. Investigators now believed Rochelle had been attacked, and then moved. The timeline Tavares gave, the narrative he clung to, no longer fit. He said he never left. But the camera showed otherwise. He said she fell. But the bruises told another story. He said he panicked. But the deposit, the shoes, and the silence afterward, none of that looked like panic. And still there was no murder weapon. No eyewitness. Just fragments. Just red flags. Just silence. But sometimes it's not the screams that give a crime away. It's the details. The ones someone thought wouldn't matter. Downstairs, Rochelle's baby shower decorations were still taped to the wall. The gold balloon letters spelling, "Welcome Baby Claiborne," were deflated, curling. One had popped. The sound must have echoed through the house that night. But no one remembers hearing it. By late September 2022, detectives turned their focus toward a question that had gone unanswered since Rochelle Claiborne's death. Who was on the other end of that message? The one that said, "I'll fix this tonight." It took them less than 48 hours to find the phone's last registered location, a cell tower near a boutique apartment complex off Campbellton Road. The prepaid number was linked to a virtual payment made weeks earlier, using the card of a woman. The number wasn't hard to trace. It belonged to a woman named Kenya Trussell, age 29. She lived in East Point, just 20 minutes from the scene. A hairstylist by trade. Once a receptionist at the same music studio where Tavares worked. The detectives brought her in. She didn't ask for a lawyer. What she did ask for was a moment to gather herself. She sat across from the investigator, silent at first. her hands shaking, eyes red. Then she said something no one expected. "I loved him. Since the first week we met." They'd been sleeping together for 5 months, most of it while Rochelle was pregnant. Kenya said she believed Rochelle wasn't faithful, that Tavares suspected the baby might not be his. But when detectives pressed her for proof, she had none. Just feelings. And words he whispered late at night. Then came the voice memo. Sent at 10:41 p.m. on August 18, 4 days before Rochelle was found on the bathroom floor. She held out her phone. Pressed play. A man's voice. Recognizable. Calm. But broken. "I don't even know who I'm looking at anymore. I gave her everything. I can't keep letting this happen. I'm not gonna carry this lie with me the rest of my life." There was a long pause. Then the final line. "I'll fix it. One way or another." Investigators secured the recording. Forensics would later verify it was authentic. But in that moment, Kenya wasn't done. She added one last sentence. "I don't think he ever stopped loving her. That's what made it worse." She wasn't arrested. She hadn't broken the law. But she had pulled back the curtain on the quiet chaos beneath a man who, from the outside, appeared calm. A man who was spiraling. Not out loud, but in silence. In whispers. In messages sent to only one person. She believed she was his safe place. But sometimes when the wrong people feel wronged, they don't look for comfort. They look for confirmation. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't sealed behind a firewall. It was in her purse. Right beneath the sonogram. An envelope. Postmarked. Private DNA lab in Duluth. Dated August 17, 2022, 4 days before her death. Detectives had cataloged it along with her lipstick, keys, folded grocery list. They almost missed it. Inside, a single-page report. A paternity confirmation. Tavares Elijah Brooks. 99.98% probability of biological fatherhood. She never told him she ordered it. No one knows if she meant to. She used her maiden name. Paid in cash. Had it mailed to her friend's address. Picked it up on her lunch break. The results were untouched. It's the last unopened thing she ever held. He didn't wait for proof. He built a world around suspicion. And destroyed her in it. Rochelle wasn't cheating. The child was his. Every fight. Every accusation. Every silent dinner and slammed door. Was built on a lie he created himself. And she had the truth in her hands. She just never got the chance to give it to him. March 6, 2023. Fulton County Superior Court. It was quiet inside courtroom 3B. But it wasn't peace. It was pressure. The kind that tightens jaws. Dries throats. Breaks people in half. Tavares Elijah Brooks walked in wearing a charcoal suit and handcuffs. His lawyer walked slightly behind him. His mother sat in the front row, eyes forward, unreadable. The charges. Felony murder, aggravated assault, and feticide under Georgia Statute Section 16-5-80. The death of Rochelle and Claiborne. And the child she never got to name. He pled not guilty. The prosecution didn't waste time. They showed photos. The bruises. The broken phone. The check he deposited at 2:52 a.m., pulled from Rochelle's account hours before he called 911. They played the voice memo he sent to another woman. The one that said, "She lied. She's gotta pay." Then came the witnesses. A neighbor recalled hearing what sounded like a heavy thud, just before 3 a.m. Another described Rochelle's baby shower, how she wore lavender and laughed so hard she had to sit down. And how just 10 days later she was gone. And then Kenya Trussell. She took the stand hesitantly. She looked at Tavares, then away. She admitted they'd been involved for months. That she loved him. That she believed the baby wasn't his. But she never thought it would come to this. When the prosecutor asked if Tavares ever spoke of hurting Rochelle, she hesitated. Then answered, "Not directly. But, he said if she didn't come clean, something was gonna break." The defense tried to pivot. They called it a tragedy born from emotion. That Tavares acted in the heat of betrayal. That Rochelle wasn't honest. But the envelope in her purse told a different story. The baby was his. The medical examiner returned to the stand. Calm. Clinical. Unmoved. "These weren't the injuries of a woman who slipped," he said. "These were the injuries of a woman who was beaten." Rochelle's mother sat silently in the gallery. Hands folded. A small gold locket around her neck. Rochelle's ultrasound photo inside. The jury deliberated 6 hours. When they returned, they didn't look at the defendant. They looked at the clerk. The foreperson spoke clearly. "We find the defendant guilty on all counts." Tavares didn't flinch. Didn't speak. Just stared ahead like the verdict wasn't his to hear. Life in prison. Without the possibility of parole. As the bailiffs prepared to escort him out, he turned back, just once, and looked at Rochelle's mother. She didn't blink. Didn't cry. She only whispered, "You were supposed to love her." The courtroom didn't gasp. It exhaled. Outside, the sky had turned gray. And inside, justice finally found its name. Does justice bring peace, or just an ending? If this was your daughter, would it ever be enough? Tell us in the comments below. October 14, 2022. A Friday evening in South Atlanta. The sun dipped below the skyline as dozens gathered outside Carter Temple AME Church, candles flickering in the dusk, tiny flames guarding a silence too sacred for words. It would have been Rochelle's due date. Instead of balloons or laughter, the air carried the soft shuffle of footsteps, the click of lighters, the weight of unanswered prayers. A circle formed in front of a framed photo of Rochelle, radiant, expectant, hopeful, placed beside a small table holding a teddy bear and a baby blanket, both untouched. Her mother stepped forward. A retired nurse who had once delivered babies for decades, now reading from her own daughter's journal, the final entry dated just days before the tragedy. "I still believe in love. Even if it doesn't believe in me." There were no speeches. Just tears, quiet hymns, and the passing of a flame from one shaking hand to another. No one said his name. The last image the jury saw, Rochelle's empty nursery. The crib Tavares helped assemble. Still in the corner. Still white. Still waiting. A stuffed giraffe. A shelf of unopened children's books. Diaper packs sealed, untouched. It wasn't just a room. It was a promise that would never be kept. He thought she betrayed him. So he beat her until the heartbeat stopped. But the truth had already been waiting for him, folded inside her purse, sealed in an envelope. The child was his. The love was real. The lie was only in his mind. What is the cost of doubt, when the truth was always within reach? Would you have opened the envelope? Or let fear choose for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments.